Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone on the DATV Net. This is ZA6YI operating. I just want to turn this volume down slowly. There we go. I hope all's going to work well today. Just want to say that we do have many people on YouTube watching, and we wish to welcome them as well. And I just want to say the idea of this net, it's a net that was started by Saro and Ed, Papa Yankee 2 Radio November, and shortly after that I joined within a few days, and slowly but surely they've lumbered me with running the net. However, we do not necessarily have to always come up with technical things just to do with QO-100. This is a net about amateur radio. It reminds me very much of the old technical nets that we had back in the day on 80 meters, where all sorts of interesting things in amateur radio, or any interesting topic for that matter, was discussed. So we welcome any form of discussion that would be of interest related to amateur radio, of course, whether you're producing an SDR receiver for shortwave, or a microwave unit, or whatever, or an antenna. Any information that you have that you'd like to share, more than welcome to do that. We do also welcome and invite other participants to come up. We do have a web page or a WhatsApp link that you can join the link to see who's on frequency, and we shall be doing that in a minute just to show you. I also wish to thank the Qatar Satellite Company for allowing us the opportunity to be on their wonderful satellite. Without their help, this would never have happened. We are the envy of the Australians and the Americans for sure, because we have a geostationary satellite that we can transmit through in very, very high definition and excellent quality color television. Of course, we also have the narrow band side where we do SSB, etc. So it's a wonderful satellite. If you are watching on YouTube, you might want to go and have a look at QO-100. I also, of course, wish to thank AMSAT DL for their sterling work and design and effort to get this going. AMSAT UK, and of course the British Amateur Television Club, the BATC. Right, let's have a look who is on the list today. My goodness, we have quite a lot of guys. Hello, Frank. So we have ZS1 Mike Leon on top. He wants to run off just now because he's got a long journey, about a 2-hour journey to go. Hello to Martin, G8KOE in the UK. Hello to Brian, G6HFS. I'm glad you got your dish sorted out. I had a massive storm about 10 minutes ago. Unbelievable over here. So I was thinking of you, but my dishes stayed okay. And then, of course, Benno, you just at home. Wonderful. Welcome aboard. Hello to Peter, GW7BZY. Okay, still looking at waveforms. Maybe you spot something we don't. And hello to Phil. You were going to talk about FPGAs, I think, if I'm not wrong. I saw earlier. And then hello to Paul, OE8PCK. Yeah, your signal looked okay just now. And then to Mike, G0MJW. And of course to Frank. Hello, nice to see you twice in a row, Frank. I wonder if there's anyone else on. Let me just have a look. I might have to scroll down. No, you're the last one at the moment, Frank. Let me just lift this up a little bit. No, but you know what? This thing moved. My humble apologies. This thing moved. Oh, I got it. Anyway, so Frank's not there. But the rest of the guys are there. So I'll just run through that. This is the latest list. My humble apologies. I clicked on last week's one. I should just cancel it. So let me just see. No one else is really new. We've lost a few. So that's a list as we go. Benno, you pass it to Mike. And Leon will come after Phil. And Peter will pass it to Phil. And then Paul will pass it to you, Peter. And Martin, you're after me. So there we go. How about that? The list hasn't changed much, eh? That's quite an interesting thing we've observed here today. So with that, will you please take it, Martin? G8KOE to take it from Zulu Sierra 6 Yankee India.
Right, I'm hoping I've got it. Oh dear, oh dear. About 5 minutes before, well, about five to one, when things were due to start, the I had a total lock up. The mouse wouldn't move or anything, so I had to totally reboot absolutely everything. And then you confused me with going on the last list there, Gary. So it's been panic this end. One minute, I thought I was first. Then he said no, I was second. I thought, oh great, I've got even more time. Then I was first. Anyway, what have I been up to? A fair bit. Some good, some bad, some confusing, but usually sort of playing with DATV Red and one thing or another. But let's go over to my main screen at the moment, and let's open up. I'm sort of using my. I upgraded the Pluto, so that's why I think I showed pictures of that last week, boxed up in that way. Well, that's sort of into the end. That's the way it looks connected to the network adapter, and that's where my at the moment my mini tuner is plugged in, which I can use for the receiver built into the ATV, and that's the little fan on the top. And just to prove that it is working, that's it at the moment in operation. As you can see, it's the lock's on, and I can see the little blue lights flashing away. So if I need to get to anything, I can, and there's plenty of ducting out as such to keep it cool. So I've been testing it on the narrowband end as well, and with the let's go back to there. With the DATV Red, it's working absolutely fine. I'm using at the moment the 1C35 firmware. Whether that's necessary or not, I don't know, but that's what the tests I've done, and had a quick contact down to the satellite to the channel I was this morning. I found someone reading the RSGB news, and I thought I recognised that voice, so we had a quick contact down there with Keith, GU6. Is it EFB? Oh. Anyway, Keith down there, which was good. The other thing that I've been trying to, don't need to, but trying to sort of get the mini tune on a Raspberry Pi, and then I think you can then control it with MQTT via instead of plugging it into the network hub that I've got. Well, I installed. I had to get out of the way, won't I? Let me get out of the way. There you go. I don't know if I can make it any bigger at the minute. Anyway, yes I can. Ooh. Well, it's gone through the process, and I've set it to my local IP for my Pluto, which is what I think I have to do. And it says it's installed successfully, but so far I haven't got the two to communicate with the DATV Red. So I'm probably not understanding something. It's probably some other settings I've got to change in DATV Red. I will admit that I do get totally confused with anything to do with networks, etc. So if anybody can correct me in what I'm doing wrong, be more than happy. At the moment, my Longwind works fine. If I click on there, it'll open up, and Oh, there we go. I thought it was going to not work for me just because I was trying to demo it. So that's all. Come on. Just because it's me, you don't want... There you go. So that works fine. And it all produced down there. But I was going to put it on a Raspberry Pi and then maybe move the Pluto out into the garage directly by things. So yeah, Benno may be able to answer the questions and put me out of my misery. The other thing I will just mention, which is nothing to do with DATV, etc., but Wednesday, there I was playing with DATV Red, and I think it was sort of late morning, and the PC went off. I lost the power, and I thought, there's another outage like they have in South Africa. But then I found that I had one light in the lounge that would work, so the lounge must be on a separate circuit. Everywhere else was dead. So I thought I'd get onto the garage and reset the trips, only to find that when I hit the garage, it things were on fire. It was full of acrid smoke. That's the fridge freezer that's alongside what was the tumble dryer. I'll move on a couple of pictures. That's the tumble dryer that I dragged out. Suffered a couple of burns on the hand, but quite lucky. It was going like a good one, but the smoke, the acrid smoke from it was, I could hardly breathe. And for those that are interested, or have got one of these, the green dot on the back says it's been modified before it was sold. Because I think going back a couple of years, they did have some problems, which and you had to get them modified. But anyway, there we go. And that's where I dragged it out from the garage. Those that have seen the Thursday net, but it was all going like a good one. So that was my excitement for Wednesday. So be warned. That's all I can say. I don't think I should be putting another one in the garage. And it's just lucky I didn't leave it another, say, 2 or 3 minutes, or even 5 minutes. It was going great guns. When I opened the door, I initially thought, what have I left on in there? What of my bit of kit has gone up in? But no, it wasn't. But anyway, right. I think it's Paul to take it next. OE8 PCK. So I'll put a test card and pass it over to you there, Paul. From Golf 8 Kilo Oscar Echo.
Okay, it looks like Paul's got an issue. So, Peter, will you take it? A GW7BZY? And then we'll see if Paul comes back a bit later. I think he said his antenna was giving him a bit of an hassle. So he might be watching on YouTube. And so that is why the delay. But I waited until the YouTube signal dropped completely. And no luck. So Peter, GW7BZY, will you pass it to Phil from ZA6YI? Pass it to Phil.
I don't know how that's good. Is that working? It's fading away. There we go. I don't know how that's good. Is that working? It's fading away. There we go. Okay, GW7BZY. So hopefully without sound, with lip sync. I'm going to have a look on the chat. I'm going to have to turn my receive signal. See if I hear sound on it. I can see sound. Video is moving on the other receiver. So all is good, I think. Yeah, great stuff. Good to see you there, Gary, and everybody else so far. Of course, Martin, fantastic. I'm impressed you didn't destroy the Pluto in your move, because I know you have affinity with fire. And of course, the washing machine went instead. Was that Hoover? I don't remember which one that had a bit of a problem. Hot Point maybe. But definitely, Martin, you do not want to get an electric car. I don't think it would be for you. It would only end in disaster, I think. Anyway, so what have I been up to? Not a lot. I've been playing with trying to do away with vMix. I've tried OBS and I was having trouble with that. Believe it or not. I'm running the latest version of Pluto soft firmware as well, which is different to one you're running there, Martin. It's the not that it matters. It seems to work very well indeed. It's the 5.13, which works excellently. Just say that. What else was it? Anyway, I couldn't get me audio to sync. It would not sync. If I used well, I was using NVIDIA's Open Broadcast, or whatever it's called, which I'm actually using now for a bit of noise reduction to just to improve the picture on this software encoded H.265. Also works very well on H.266, and I'm running 30 frames a second. Well, 20 frames a second, but I'm inputting it to 30 frames from my camera. So I've gone back to NTSC, Japanese version, just only because the camera can do it. It can do American as well, but and 23.98 or whatever. But I'm running 30 frames, 60 frames from the camera. 30 frames of that goes, no, 30 frames from the camera, 30 frames per second in the Magewell USB 3 dongle, which is a frame converter and synchronizer. Not synchronizer, but it convert frame rate and resolution to whatever you want to come out of it, which is a really handy thing. And then I'm importing that into my PC. Why am I doing all this and not taking in at full potential resolution? It's just that I can do 266 now without problems. I think that little bit of overhead that is allowed by vMix, by going natively to 720p, allows me to work H.266 in the same way as I could do 6.5. I receive on the second PC. So 266 or H.266 stroke VBC is a go on this station, and of course I've got the receive working as well with the FFmpeg on Owen's fantastic DATV Red working as well. So all's good. All's good at this site for H.266. That's what I've been playing with. I've also tried without any intermediately program from the Magewell dongle, which has worked in the past but wouldn't work. What did work, I had 10 seconds audio delay, which I couldn't correct in any direction, even though I used the facility. It didn't work. It could add delay, but it couldn't correct it. So negative or positive, it made no difference. So I've gone back to vMix. vMix far better, far better. I think, Mike, there you did show the waveform monitor on vMix. I have on OBS. I did look at that previously, although I couldn't get it working after you showed me it. But it doesn't actually show you a luminance only one. It shows you a parade more than the color waveform, which isn't really very helpful. It is, but not for doing the luminance. And of course, vMix does all separately, and parade and the combination of. And you can adjust it from that panel as well, which I don't think you can. You might correct me on OBS now that you can, but I think vMix, of course, you can correct it from the same panel, and it works faultlessly. So there we are. That's what I've been doing this side. My 10-meter antenna has the top 2/3 of it's blown away. I've been out and looked for it, and someone's nicked it. I don't expect they've nicked it. I expect what's happened is one of the neighbours who's fed up with looking at it from behind the house here has seen his opportunity and binned it. So no longer in his eye line. So that's my thoughts on that. And I hand it round to whoever's next. Who is next? I've got it written down. Yes, I'm a bit. The wife's back, by the way. I don't know if you know, I did say that the wife was in hospital, but she's much better now. She's cooked Sunday dinner, and all's well at the GW7BZY location. So next it's Phil P0PIT from GW7BZY with a brief test card, I think. Let's see if we can get that done.
That's looking good. Right. Yeah. Peter. Oh, glad to hear your wife's back and better. That's good. Probably you'll be able to have some decent food now. I shouldn't say that, really, should I? Martin. Yeah, we have spoke about your little disaster. Be interested to know what make that tumble dryer was. Yeah, I'll make no other comment than that. As for me, well, the week didn't start very good. Monday, my idea was I should go down the supermarket and I should do my big shop. So I leaves the house, goes to the garage door would not open. Half an hour later, I managed to force it open. Got the car out, went to the supermarket to do my shopping, found I'd left my list at home. Okay. Anyhow, I did the shopping, or what I can remember of what to get. Anyhow, gets in the car don't start. On about 6th attempt, finally the engine turned over. So that was great. So the outcome of that was that by the end of Monday, I was about £210 out of pocket for a new battery for the car, but at least the garage fitted it for me on the day, which was good. Local garage. And as for the garage door, well, luckily, it was just one of the springs that lifts it. It's an up and over door. One of the springs had basically exploded. And I was able to get 2 replacements. By the end of Thursday, I had 2 new springs on my garage door, and it works absolutely brilliantly. And managed to put a hacksaw across the side of my finger, which is a bit sore, but anyhow, I've now got a working car and a working garage door. Now, what I was going to talk about today, because I've been really busy all week, and I've had people know, particularly Leon, has always commented about the beginning of my transmission, the audio and the video was sort of like break up. So I started to investigate. And what I need to show you first of all, this is my TX setup. This is how I transmit. Basically, it's PC, OBS, and it streams straight into FFmpeg. And then it goes out of FFmpeg and it goes into the ports down. And it comes out of the ports down as RF. And it goes into a coax switch, which is what I use for my PTT. Then you've got a bandpass filter and a PA, and off it goes to the dish. But after
you get the glitch at the beginning of my transmission, which can happen over a period of about 15 seconds. And then it will settle down and it will be absolutely perfect. But every time I go on to transmit, and that's just basically putting RF into my PA, because FFmpeg, OBS, it's all running. Like today, it's been running since probably about, well, must be half an hour, well, a bit more than that, nearly 45 minutes it's been running. So I don't touch that, it's just the coax switch. Well, when you come up, you get these glitches, which is can appear on audio, or here on audio, or it could be on video, or it could be both. But it's always at the beginning, and after about 15 seconds, it doesn't appear. So what could it be? Well, going back to the diagram, the only thing I thought that it could be was FFmpeg. Now I'm using I'm using the latest version, which is 6.1. And I wondered if it was FFmpeg. Another reason why is that some people don't see these glitches. And I noticed that when I've run two different receivers, the Winterhill is probably the worst. It shows virtually every time on there. But when you go to the Longmin, it doesn't appear at all. So I suspected it was something to do with FFmpeg. So what I did yesterday, I got got a PC, one of my PCs here, put a new hard disk in it, built it, and built it the same way as my TX PC, and put an earlier version of FFmpeg on it, which was version 6, and I ran it, and it worked perfectly, which was, okay, great, it's FFmpeg. Now today I wasn't prepared to change the FFmpeg in my, shall we say, my live machine. So what I did, I physically brought over this PC, connected it all in, and that's what I'm running at the moment. But when I brought it all up over here, which is on a different network port if you want, so I just used the cable, blow me, the problem appeared again at the beginning. And then after you run it for 30 seconds or whatever, all clears up, runs absolutely perfectly, but at the beginning it's always at the same, not at the same point, it's always within about 10 to 15 seconds, and it might appear 2 or 3 times where it will stall. So, you know, to cut a long story short, I'm now running on this, if you want, test machine, which exhibited the problem, but I'm running it on a different network cable. So far, unless someone's going to tell me different, that glitch has not appeared. And if that is the case, it's a network cable. Now, how on earth can a network cable have problems when you're always, you know, 10, 15 seconds into a stream of data? How very strange. But, oh, let's put me ugly mug back on the screen. So that's where I'm running at the moment. I'm running on this test PC on a test cable, which is running under my feet, and I'm hoping that it's now okay. And I'm sure that certainly Leon will. Oh, he's after me anyhow. I'm sure Leon will correct me if it is still causing problems. But I'd be very interested. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Leon, and you can comment on my transmission. So I'm going to put up a test card, which is that. I hope you like me fire. That proves the fact that the video is actually hasn't stopped because of the problems that I've had. So I'm going to kill. So
Okay. M0 PIT in the group. This is ZS1 Mike returning. Yes, good afternoon to everybody. There is no mornings and no evenings. No. Okay, Phil, when you came up immediately, I saw that you fixed the problem. It is 100%. I never knew you worked through a ports down. We'll have to talk about that sometime. And my opinion about networks, anything going through a network is dodgy. I don't like networks. But yes, you've definitely cured it. You came on like a toggle switch. When you were on, it was perfect. I never lost video. It was always your audio would go bup, bup, and then nothing, and then bup, 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 and then it would settle. Well, there's none of that today. It is absolutely perfect. All right, Peter, your picture is fantastic today, except that it's a bit dark. The camera, when you put onto your went to your test pattern, brilliant, nice. But your camera, at least 1 stop, 1.5 stop, I'd say. On the shady side, this side of your face, it's almost pitch black. It's very dark. And your highlight, where's my highlight there, is far from saturated. Very, very far from saturated. Anyway, just a critical opinion. But otherwise, everything, it's sharp, eh? It's very nice. So yeah, you've explained a lot of complicated stuff there, but anyway, it works. Okay, Paul didn't come on. Martin was perfect. I only came on in sort of the middle of Martin's thing. I didn't get the washing machine or dryer or whatever, but because I was in the room, I was waiting for Gary's music and I didn't hear that. So I must have had the volume too low, so I had nothing of Gary's over. So Gary, tell us about that SSB thing. I saw on the comments that you had a narrowband QSO with somebody, but that could just as well have been with a normal LNB. Anyway, it is hot here. I haven't done anything constructive this weekend, and in an hour's time I'm on the road again back to Bredasdorp. It is just too hot for me. I finally received the surface mount caps that I was waiting for the flight termination system, and I tested that last night. Just soldered leads onto them, or was it this morning? Could have been early this morning, I can't even remember. But they are beautiful. They're 2% tolerance and lovely. I measured one with a capacitance meter, the little chip cap. It was 22.3 nanos, and then I soldered leads onto it, just short leads, so that I could put it into the breadboard with the rest of the circuit. And after soldering the leads on, it was still 22.3 nanoseconds, so I could see they are definitely very stable. Very, very nice. So now I can complete that project. I would have loved to have completed it this weekend. There was enough time, but simply too hot to do fine SMD assembly in this heat. Not for me. I'll just mess up everything. I just haven't got the patience when it's so hot. Okay, so Gary, over to you. ZS6 Yankee India for the group from ZS1 Mike.
I think it's Benno actually, but while I've got the micro, I think it's Benno. So I just waited in case Benno came up. It's Benno after you, Leon, and then Mike. Yeah, I'm talking to a chap in Sweden. He's watching on YouTube. That's Alman Timo. Sierra Mike 9. What is it now? Let me just see if I can find it. Sierra Mike 6, Papa Quebec London, Lima. He says in Sweden they only allowed 0.1 watt on 2.4 gigs. And he would like to know in other countries what the maximum power level could be on 2.4 gigs. I think in South Africa it's 500 watt. I think, I might be wrong, but Mike came up on the other channel on our chat box, and he said in the UK they've got 400 watt. And then Benno came up and said that in Sweden you can apply for a special concession, special license. So anyway, yeah, and you know, it's very hot in South Africa, although we've just had a big thunderstorm up here, but you've heard Leon also mentioned it was very hot. Leon, I didn't get that QNet to work, so I put in the other converter, but I did a stupid thing. I had a little bias T, beautiful little thing, so, but I didn't have an adapter to go from the 75 ohm coax, you know, TV coax. So I had to unsolder the one adapter, the one that went to the rig, and changed things there, and just soldered the coax nicely onto the PC board. It took quite a while because it's a finicky little thing, it flops around. Anyway, got it working beautifully. It's really working. Actually, never worked better using a what's it, a $10 LNB. However, got it all going, and as I sat down now to test it, and I did speak to a couple of guys on narrowband, worked very well. As I looked down, I have a packet with about 20 of the bloody adapters. Exactly what I was looking for. So I did all that PT for nothing, some of them. All of that PT for nothing. I could kick myself because it's handy to have just screw in and screw out. But anyway, it is what it is. It's working very well. But yeah, I've got another issue. You talk about bad days. On Friday, I got home and my gardener said there's something wrong with our one buck and the blessbook. I've got two. I've got a springbuck in my back garden and a blessbook. And the poor buck was limping along very badly. So I phoned my vet. I said, come and dart it. Let's see if we can sort out something. The vet came with his vet nurse, and he followed the buck, but the buck keeps trying to run away, but limping like hell. But he could see the paw, the front leg, the left leg, I think it was just hanging like that. And so that's it. Unfortunately, yes, we have to cull the animal to get it out of its pain and misery. You cannot attach that. It's actually the foot that broke. Must have got into a hole, runs up and down. And I also have ground next door where it runs, and it must have tramped in a hole or something, and the foot, because of the momentum of the body, the foot snapped right off, actually the leg. So we got a guy, he's a hunter. He was supposed to come on Friday, but I put him off until Monday. And I sat the whole weekend trying to figure out how can we fix this, because other than that, all right, the pain, of course, but other than that, the animal's in good health. So I phoned the vet again today. It's a good friend of mine. I said, listen, man, can't we come up with a plan? Yeah, I've got methyl methacrylate. We can attach the bones and put some fiberglass around that and blah, blah, blah. He says, funny that you mentioned that, but we actually tried that some time back, and it never worked. When they eventually wanted to hope that the bone had bonded, when they opened up the wound, the bone actually came off on the fiberglass. So tomorrow is a horrible deed that a guy will have to come and take it out of its misery. But it looked normal. I took a video of it, and the buck's eating its grass, and there was a lightning storm, so it hobbled, sat near a tree, and it eats its grass. So I said to the guy, can't we just leave it? He said, no, don't, because it's under stress, and it's been in paradise for the last 10, 11 years, maybe 12 years it's been here, just arrived one day. He says, you don't want to go and upset all that by giving it trauma for the next 5, 6 months until it dies of starvation. So I hate it. I hate to do this, but I suppose one has to be kind to the animal. But it breaks our heart. So that's our sad story for the week. And on Monday it starts sad. But anyway, let's move on. Benno, are you back, sir? I hope so. And then you just carry on to Mike. Papa Alpha 3 Fox Bravo X-ray from Zulu Sierra 6, Yankee, India. Fox Bravo X-ray.
Yeah, sorry to hear, Gary. I actually was here, but I was really looking on the chat, answering the Swedish question. In fact, well, first of all, to comment on everything on the net so far. Martin, saw the fire you had, and even the burns on your finger on Thursday, so sorry to hear that. Luckily it was only 2 devices and your finger, which probably will take care of itself. For Phil, your audio was perfect now. I actually, one question, I noticed you are using ports down to transmit and use IPTS, and it was my impression always that you can only use H.264 into IPTS, but you are transmitting H.265. Are you moving HP on IPTS through the ports down on H.265? That was the question. And yeah, actually, I think Leon needs some moving part at the back of him, because occasionally his head freezes in the image, and he has no moving parts anywhere. So we all press on the receive button because we want to realign the frequency or whatever, but it's just his head not moving. So you need one of those Chinese kittens, I think, on the back with the arm or any other moving part on the back of your shelf or something, Leon. And Gary, yeah, animals around your house are always nice. I used to live in a place where we had up to, I think, 7 horses and some box and some lammer sheep and dogs and cats and chicken and rabbits and whatever you want. We had it, and there was always one of the animals, something wrong, needed to get a vet, or even worse, needed to put down. And yeah, I like animals, but I don't like the whole life cycle around it, I would say. And it just belongs to the life cycle, I believe, to have this kind of issues. And yes, if you have them around your house, you have to take care of them properly. And if the vet says no, put down, you have to listen and follow the vet, I believe. Anyway, what I'm also kind of struggling over the last few days with some Plutos, and I wonder if someone had this problem on the Pluto. By the way, on the Sugar Mike part, as some of you know, I went on camp on holiday in Sugar Mike country and drove with my mobile home through Denmark, made a bunch of QSOs on nice squares from Denmark, and then I moved to Gothenburg, and obviously couldn't transmit anymore on 23 cents. Sorry, on 13 cents. I've actually spoken with, I believe, the chairman of the local club, and they explained to me that the administration is not feeling confident and is afraid for disturbance on the Wi-Fi. Well, I should say we have more than enough experience that my neighbors can still work on the Wi-Fi, me transmitting with 100 watts on the set. But I think they need more local experience, and that means, and I also got I actually got an email, an address where of the administration, and I applied for a permit. Obviously, much too late. I was only 2 weeks over there, and you need more than enough time to do so. But I believe I got an answer that they could give me a permit if I would exactly tell them where I would be at what time and when I'm going to do a transmission, and then I could get a permit for my test transmissions. And I believe that's just what should be done. We had something very similar 20 years ago in the Netherlands when 50 megahertz came out, and 50 megahertz was still used for TV at that time on the low band, and the administration in the Netherlands was also very afraid of disturbance of the TV channels, and we could get a permit, a special permit for 6 meters to transmit, and the time has told out that there was no or very limited disturbance of the TV, and by now everything is legal and normal without any permit. We can transmit on 6 meters, and I believe that's the same case in Sweden. I would say people just apply for a permit for, and if they get enough of those applications, I think in the end they will open it up, because around the rest of the world is more or less 100 watts or more can be made on that band, which is more than enough to reach the set, and especially because 23 cents is under a magnification for the GPS satellites. I believe 13 centimeters should be something within our grasp to use for satellite communication, and I believe Wi-Fi is not involved in any problem. Even here in my room, while transmitting, I can use still on 2400 megahertz. I can use the Wi-Fi. It influences, but barely noticeable, I would say. Okay, that's my story about Sweden. And on the other problem I had is one of those, which is obviously a Pluto, and I was playing with that and I got a small problem, and I went DFU mode back to the 0301. I must say this is a version CD version, so this is so I went back and I got a nice blinking LED again, and it starts running, and okay, that sounds perfect. I got the network and I got the folder again, so I said, well, it's a CD version, it should update it to 3.4 and then move on to whatever firmware of Everest we want. So I updated to 3.4, and then I went it up to 0201 of the Pluto of Everest, which is kind of standard in my case. And the minute I went up to one other version, it stopped blinking. It still opens a folder, it still opens a network, you can, on 0201 I get nicely the browser, which we all know, and the only small thing, I got a patch on there for transmission, and the only strange thing is I can never transmit with it. I can never get it to transmit on the browser, despite me putting data in, and well, it's never going to transmit, which is kind of strange. And I went on to the latest firmware for the MQTT, for the DATV Red, over the 303, and moved on to the latest firmware, and it never starts blinking again like it should do. Also during the firmware upgrade, you never see it blinking again, and you see if you run DATV Red on it, you can see the MQTT, you can see all the messages, but you cannot get the firmware information back from it. So I have no clue what's going on with that Pluto, and I wonder if someone had that before. I've done a bunch of Plutos, and now I'm really stuck, and I wonder why. So that's another question. Something fall down here. Anyone can report on that, and otherwise, I see Tom is also testing on another frequency. He might want to come on this net. Passing it on to Mike. You're very busy, Mike. Wake up, and the frequency is all yours from Papa Alpha 3 Foxtrot Bravo X-ray, and passing it on to you, Mike, from PA 3 Fox Bravo X-ray.
Thank you, Benno. Yeah. Difficult, isn't it, when you've only got 100 milliwatts? Is that ERP? That would be terrible. Or is it RF? At least if it's RF, if you had, say, a 5 or 20 meter dish, you could get in, but it's a bit limiting. I have actually put a signal through with 250 milliwatts with my 2.4 meter dish, but that's pretty weak. Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry to hear about the, I guess it's like a deer, I think, the animal you were describing, Gary. That's the problem. It's the same with the horses, isn't it? You can't fix horses that have broken their legs, apparently, which is very sad, especially for the horse. I guess if you had it as a pet and it only had 3 legs, then and it could get its own feed from you, then it wouldn't have quite the issue. But that's not really what they're designed to do. That's what you would do with a dog or a cat, but not with a wild animal like that. Okay, just a few things to show. One thing I was going to talk about actually is I was just going to measure my power output. I'm using 10 watts at the moment to transmit up to the satellite, so you don't need as much power with a larger dish, of course. The dish has 6 dB more gain, so you need 6 dB less power than your typical 1.2 meter dish. The other thing is above my head here is what OBS can't do with that plugin. It's a Luma plot rather than an RGB or a YUV, so I'm not quite sure what Peter was talking about. But there you go. Yeah, as for things to show, I guess probably the best thing to do is to go to what's on the bench. There isn't really anything new here, but some PCBs did arrive very, very quickly actually from JLC. I think they must batch ship them nowadays because the postage is incredibly cheap, and it seems to come in either 5 or 10 days. Or maybe it's 1 or 2 weeks. So I think they maybe batch them all out to the UK or to Europe and then send them on from there. But the ones that turned up anyway are the one on the left is the RS232 to CIV, which I showed weeks ago, and I had that in black. The one in the middle is the one for the barometer. So all that is a PCB that effectively joins an Arduino Nano, a sensor and an LCD display together. There are no active parts of that board. The only thing there are 2 termination resistors for the I2C and a contrast pot for the LCD and a LCD series resistor. Some LCDs have them built in, some don't, so you need to make provision for that. And the final one is my PTT multiplier, and that is nothing really apart from you take in one PTT signal and out come 3 with the open collector transistors, and that's so I can drive 2 amplifiers, because my DATV setups generally I will have something like a Pluto or a Lime and then a low powered driver amplifier and the main amplifier. And the problem is, if you don't switch the PTT on the driver amplifier first, then in fact no, if you don't have a PTT on the driver amplifier, you can then get sort of spikes. Also it'll be transmitting into nothing, which normally it wouldn't mind about, but you tend to want to have a PTT on both amplifiers rather than on just one, to avoid any spikes. And of course, if you have the PTT and you can sequence them, you could have the driver amplifier operating into a dummy load whilst it's sorting out its initial startup in any calibration type things. Because my 23 cent PA tripped a couple of weeks ago whilst something was doing some calibration. It's got protection built into it, but it's a bit difficult with some of these devices, especially if you have a lot of gain, as Tajir has unfortunately found out. You can get signals out of band that are amplified more than the ones in band, and then there's too much drive. Anyway, sorry, that's a long waffle. Going to this camera, which is now showing the desk, not very helpful. So this is the PTT multiplier board I was talking about, all built up. It didn't take very long because it's not got very many parts. So that's the final one of those. The barometer is now in a box, a 3D printed box, and so is the CIV. Actually, if I turn around this 3D printed box, you get the idea. It's just got a nano and a sensor, and on the other side of that is an LCD. Sorry for the shakiness of the camera. That's why it's called Wonder Cam. Couldn't call it Shaky Cam because G4KLB had decided that that was his trademark, not mine. Okay, I don't see anyone else on the list, but Tom, if you are coming on, it should be Gary next, ZS6YI, but maybe Gary, if you could leave a break, that might be a good idea. Just checking the, yeah, he's definitely not. Oh, Brian has come up, sorry. Right, okay, Brian has appeared on the list, so it's G6HFS, who's only just got back. So, round to you, Brian. G0MJW.
Yep. Good afternoon, everybody. I just thought I'd pop my head up, say hi to the group. I've been a bit mad today. Tried to get up the field to discharge a few of these. That's one of the lipos that I fly. The bit on the back if I can get it in the light. Is an indicator. You slide it between red and green, so when the LiPo's charged, you know which one you to pick out the box, especially when you've got half a dozen of them lying in the same box. Is that going to show a bit of green? Anyway, the little slider goes from red to green. So of course what you do is once you've finished flying, you just slide it back. That's a quite a large LiPo one, 6 cell 22.2 volts. It's got a 60C constant discharge and 120 burst, so they last between 6 and 8 minutes depending what you're doing with the model. So that's all I've really been up to, really. Apart from, I think I said last week, got the dish back up, and luckily we've had no large winds. It's just been wet. So I'll just make this one over and say 7 threes, and I'll hand it back to Gary.
You could get Tom on. Look like you'll be on. But welcome to you back on the air anyway, Tom. And yeah, that's certainly a lot of energy in that battery. But now Leon has given me a tip. You half charge the battery to about 50% and then put it in a fridge. He's got a big fridge at home full of batteries. And then when he wants to use it, he just completes the charge. So maybe Leon can tell us more about that. Anyway, yeah, not much else to comment. I've got Australians visiting the whole week last week. Very pleasant. We're busy expanding one of our factories. And so they've come to inspect stroke assist. It's quite a technical thing with polyurethane and all sorts of other type of moldings that we do. Injection molding, of course, for them. But it's also very big components for the mining industry. So there's a lot of know-how and, shall we say, little tricks that we have to brush up on that production to make sure that they get what they need. So it's been good. They've been very impressed, and that's the main thing. They went to the Kruger National Park, or no, to Sun City, Pilanesberg this weekend. So I'm sure they've had a ball. It's lovely, the game drives, etc., that they can take place in or take part in. Okay, why in a fridge? Well, it's to keep it cool. But Leon, I don't know, it's almost time that he wants to leave. So he could tell you on the next over if he's going to stay back. Okay, with that, to you, Martin, and you can just up your audio a little bit. That'll help, or bring the mic closer to your mouth. G8KOE to please take it from ZA6 Yankee India.
Right. Yeah, I was probably not talking it up, but I will talk it up a bit more now. Apologies there. I was sort of trying to, it was the panicking sort of situation. I think I was sitting further back in the chair. But yeah, if Leon wanted to take it, I'd quite happily drop out. But I haven't got a lot to add. Somebody asked about which tumble dryer it was. And it's a hot point. It's a hot point. They go under lots of names, all the same sort of thing over here. But yeah, that's what it was. So we won't be getting one of those. I didn't see any signals from Tom, but yeah, perhaps he's not quite got got everything together. But be good to see him. Yes, that's right. It is an app name. And yeah, I've blown a couple of PAs up there. So yes, that's probably because of too much gain and pushing it to its limit. So it's probably a similar sort of problems. But since I've changed the driver stage to the SG Labs one, things have been much more happy, I must admit. And the current I'm taking is less than what I used to draw. Yeah, I'm drawing about 10 amps now, and I was sort of more up to about 14 amps to get the sort of power out that I was getting, or I am getting now. But yeah, I use this, which slowly I put things on, key up various bits and pieces. So anyway, what else was I going to comment on? Yeah, sorry to hear there, Gary. On it's not good. I always remember when worked at boarding school in Sussex, and you'd get a lot of people would shoot the deer but not shoot them properly. So you'd see them come hobbling around, and one of our guys would do the necessary. So it's not it's being kind, being rather than cruel. Yeah, it's hard. I'm still struggling from having a cat that obviously went out on Boxing Day and hasn't come back. So every time the remaining cat goes out, I'm sort of thinking, will she come back? But so far, so good. Yeah, I think Paul's dropped out, isn't he? I think his receiver wasn't working. I think if I looked on the chat. On to you there, Mike. Did hear you on 80 metres this morning. You may not have got... I wasn't in a position to get back at the time. You're fully Q5, not a ginormous signal, but you were there. I'll try and catch you another time. Anyway, not a lot more to add. And yeah, I was going to show the plug-in from yeah. Yeah, that one, the green dot, Mike, that's on the back of it, denotes that it had been modified before it was sold, as opposed to others that were recalling in the past. I didn't realise, but now, having done some research, or my son's done some research, that dot donates the fact that they'd done what was necessary to stop it catching fire, presumably. It obviously doesn't work. Anyway, I'll update everybody on the engineer that's due to come on Wednesday to have a look at it. So we'll see what he makes of it. So I think they do come with a 10-year warranty on parts. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Anyway, that's a long waffle. So it's around you there, Peter. And as Mike showed you, the luminance does work. You can select all sorts of different things. I keep reading what's coming out of there. Anyway, I'll put a test card up. Say 7.3 to everybody. Good net as usual. And over to you there, Peter. Oh, I ought to say that we did have a two-way 266 contact, which was the first duplex contact that I'd had. So that was with you. So there you go. Right. So over to you there, Peter, from G8KOE.
There we go. Sorry about that. Yes. Okay, Mike. Yeah, you caught me. Really, I haven't looked into it that much. I did download it some time ago previously, and played with it, and it particularly. I just didn't like it. I did only have the colour version up, but I don't like the way you have to adjust it. It doesn't adjust properly. You don't have the pots there just to adjust it, and the wave and the phase. You can do the colour and everything on vMix. So it works so much. It's so much more elegant on vMix. You don't get a thing in the corner of your screen. I don't know what that's about. I don't really want to see it on my screen, but I do want a waveform monitor. But there we are. I'm sure you're going to tell me it's not necessary to have it on your screen. I suppose it's handy while you were setting it, but. Yeah, like I said, I had to play with OBS. I don't like it. I'd rather pay £60 or $60 and get vMix, and on 3 inputs is more than I'd ever needed. Unless you want lots of widgets and things on your screen, which I don't particularly. But everybody who does, good on them, and each to his own, of course. Yeah, on the anything else I don't want to say? Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your dear Gary. It's going to be dearly departed soon, isn't it? No pun intended. But well, intended, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know whether you can eat them. I'm sure that it's a nice animal if it's young enough. I like animals. I like eating them mostly. Yeah, the cat, Martin. People, cats, well, they wander a bit, don't they? And a good idea, I think someone suggested in the past. I have no cats or any animals at the moment, or foreseeable future, I'd say. Is put on their if they have a collar, then put a tab on it with "Don't feed me" on them, and they tend to come home then. That's always the danger with cats, isn't it? Somebody puts a bowl of milk out for them. They've gone. But there we are. I think that's about it. Yeah, Phil, doesn't sound like you've had much fun. Not having a lot of luck. I think if you didn't have any luck, bad luck, you wouldn't have any luck at all with the things that have gone wrong for you. But I feel quite good about everything, really, because apart from the wife being away for a week in the local hospital, everything's been going really well. And of course my antenna blowing off, but I'm not much fussed. I did have a play on 10 meters, but I'm not that much fussed about HF, to be fair. I did make some QSOs, but I may put a magnetic loop up, a mag loop up at some point, so I can work the whole band. I keep thinking about buying one of them Yaesu 710s or other new radios with all the display and everything, and I just don't see it. I mean, most people I know, I have known, who have HF rigs, they play with them for the first week or two, or maybe, and then they turn on. Brother used to have a HF. He was big into HF and antennas and a good radio for its time. 767, I think it was. And he never played with that. He used to be in his Radio Shack sitting there, all done up nice and basically an ornament. So got enough of them. So there we are. See you all next week, I suppose. Who's next? Back to M0PIT from GW7BZY with a bit of a ramble.
Right, there we go. Hope no more glitches. Yeah, Gary, yeah, sorry to hear about that. Must be hard. I don't have any pets. I'm quite allergic to dogs. Yeah, it's a long story, but I was quite ill before I realised what the hell was going on. I was allergic to our four-legged friends, dogs. Anyhow, that's enough of that. Yeah, Leon, if you say that my TX and my audio is fine, that's good enough for me. That's what I want to hear. So it looks like tomorrow I shall put things back, but I will suspect that network cable, because I'm pretty certain it is. But how on earth you have a copper cable that seems to be intelligent, I really don't know. Yeah, very strange. Benno, you asked about the ports down. Let's bring my diagram back up again. My belief, and I haven't had this confirmed because I'm not an expert on ports down. I think when you put IPTS in it, it basically becomes a modulator. So whatever FFmpeg kicks out, it will just basically go into the ports down and it will modulate it. I can run 264, 265 and 266, and the only thing that I change is FFmpeg, the parameters within FFmpeg. So I suspect that when you IPTS into ports down, it just becomes a modulator. I was going to try some other stuff for is it A1 or 1A or something like that. I was going to try that, but domestic things just got in the way and I haven't been able to do it. So that will be on the cards. But no, it works a treat. I don't have any problems with audio sync. That's all done within OBS. If things are correct, it should be about 300 milliseconds. If it changes, that's normally what is down to USB and the operating system changing its priority, but my setup, it should be 300 milliseconds, and in actual fact when I powered up this test unit today, when I was transmitting, I realised the audio sync was out, and I set it up at 300 and bang, it was spot on. So I don't have any problems with that, and it just works. Yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I don't use any virtual cameras, virtual audio cables. It's just pure OBS doing what it's supposed to do, which is streaming, which is RTMP, and it just goes straight into FFmpeg. And I've even had FFmpeg running on a separate standalone box. I thought, well, I could put it on a Raspberry Pi, but the Raspberry Pi just couldn't handle it. I got a big server as well. It's quite old, but it's got 2 processors in it, and I actually I put FFmpeg on there and streamed from a PC into the server, but basically it's too old and it doesn't have sufficient power in it, processing power, to do 266, which was what my aim was. But that's my setup, and it works. And now that I've sorted out the problem with the glitching at the beginning of my transmission, should be all singing, all dancing again. So the job tomorrow is to remove this test PC, go back to my original PC, my normal TX PC, put this temporary network cable into it, and to see if that cures the problem. Fingers crossed, even though it's a bit sore because I put a hacksaw down the side of it. Fingers crossed it will actually all work. So yeah, that's enough for me. Who's next on the list then? It's Leon if he's still there. If Leon's not there, I'm sure Benno would take it. But I'm going to hand it over to Leon. I'm going to put up my test card. A nice warming test card.
Okay, thanks, Phil. M0PIT in the groups. It is one mic returning. And who was it? Benno that says I'm not moving enough or something. I don't know. Right. Firstly, my apologies, Benno, for cutting you out, and also Mike. The last time I looked at the sheet, I was at the end, and then I looked again later, and I was still the last one. But yeah, you guys must have come in a little bit later, and then right at the end, Brian came in. So sorry about that. That was not intentional. Okay, what do I have here? Brian, yes, 6S at 60C. That is a battery. Wow. My biggest electric, I use a 5 cell 5 amp hour with a big motor, and that thing is quite potent. Gary, all the modelers will know about the roughly for 50%. The charger does it by itself. You just press a button and say storage, and it'll, if it's too low, it'll charge it up to that level. If it was fully charged, it'll bring it down to that level. So that's automatic. You just say storage, and then you put it in the fridge. Not freeze it, but keep it at 4 degrees. It makes them last just so much longer. I think I've lost, in all the years that I've been flying electrics, I think I've lost one battery, and I think it was a dud battery. They just last and last and last. Because it's a chemical reaction, and chemical reactions are temperature sensitive, and if you can keep it cool, because you don't want it to operate there, but you want it to store it there, it just lasts so much longer. So that's my policy, and it works for me. There are people who say, oh no, don't do it. No, it works for me. Right, Mike, those boards look nice. Yeah, you guys, I don't think it'll ever be 2 weeks if we work through that place. The transport or services to South Africa is just not like that. Maybe a month if you're very fortunate, a month. I ordered those regulator things from Amazon. I think it was a month. And that was by courier, not the post. So yeah, and from other places on eBay and so on also, it takes very, very long. We do get it in the end, you know. At one stage they say, when I go to the tracking, they said no, suspected lost. Mine was not lost. Okay, yeah, Peter, I think you're a bit brighter now. Oh yeah, and what I wanted to say, I took my my bat converter thingy on the breadboard. I took it to the farm this week, and yes, it picked up the bats beautifully. You can listen to them, and they actually make a bit of a sweep. You know, it's like a tweet, tweet, tweet. It's not a single fixed frequency that they squawk. It's like a little sweep. But yes, it picks it up at a long distance. So I can now make a PC board for it because I know it works. Okay. That's it from me. 73s, I've got to run. Talking too much. So, Benno, over to you. BA3 FBX for the groups. It is 1mm saying cheerio.
And I don't have any audio. Let me put my signal a little bit higher. So that's better. Okay, I moved to 399 node of DATV Red just now, because my my instance didn't work just slightly before the net, and during the net I reloaded and recharged and reinstalled and reset 399. So that's okay, but I saw I was slightly off frequency, so that's pretty okay now. Yeah, those batteries really charge and really do something, and if they fall down you normally do 2-3 steps back, because if you damage them. I have actually a few batteries which are abused by myself. For instance, I just recently got this one out of the box. It's not too bad, but you can see it's not square anymore. It's almost like a tube. It's abused, it's dead, it's damaged, it goes into a bin. I still need to bring it outside. I just found it here on the shelf when I took it out. Actually, I'm not so scared of them, but I know there are a few instances they catch fire during charging, after abuse or whatever. So the minute they are damaged, they are being thrown out in a bucket of water or something like that. Yeah, that one goes out, and it should be not in here anyway. I have somewhere outside of my house a bucket, a bin where I thrown all the bed before I bring it to the. Well, I'm going to decharge it completely before I bring it away. But normally you have to wait a few weeks or months, and they are being discharged anyhow, because that's the reason why they break. The discharge is well, abusing them will discharge them quickly. And yes, on my Heli one, that one takes about 80 amps going up on a 6S on on 24 volts. I always say 24 volts because it's 4 volts times 6, 24 in my opinion. And yes, they go through the life as 22 point something, but in the end it's little over 24 volts when they are completely charged. It's even 25.2 volt, and then you can pull easily like 100 or 150 amps out of it easily. Okay. Yeah, that's all for now. Yeah, nothing else to report. I'm going to stumble with my broken Pluto and with my amplifiers on the terrestrial, but because there's also something going on wrong. And I'm sorry to see that Tom was here, but he's not in the net. I saw him on the. Actually, he's not transmitting anymore, or not? Not. No, I don't think so. Well, anyway, he will come back if he gets a little bit more time, free time. 73s and mic frequencies all yours from PA3 Fox Bravo X-Ray.
Right, thank you, Benno. And yeah, I've had a few of those batteries go up like that, usually in bits of equipment like laptops or tablets and things, the flat ones.
and they can catch fire, although they don't normally. It's only when you try and charge them up again that they do. Not really much else to add. There was one thing I didn't talk about actually, which might be of interest, because I know I showed this on the previous net. But this is the little heater thing that turned up from AliExpress for doing PCBs and what have you, preheating them. It works. I tested it when I was making that PCB. Only thing I'd add is that it really needs a power delivery port that will give it 19 volts to get up to a higher temperature, and then it will get up to getting on for 200 degrees centigrade, which is quite a lot. Whether it gets hot enough to melt solder, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't want to actually do that, because if you look at the structure, it's using standoffs and PCBs for the isolation or insulation, but I don't think PCB material would like permanently being at 300 centigrade or something like that, so it's mostly for preheating, which it did a good job of, and when you're trying to solder to a ground plane, then that's useful. Right, interested to see Brian's aeroplane. Benno, I didn't realise they took that much current, but I guess they do. Why would they produce 60C batteries otherwise? And I guess most of the weight is actually in the batteries, so that must be what limits your duration. It's a bit like a rocket really, isn't it? It's limited by the amount of fuel, but most of its effort is spent, certainly in the early stage of a launch, is spent lifting up the fuel. Right, okay, Brian, round to you. G6 HFS, G0MJW, 7-3 everybody. Catch you next week if I'm on. G0MJW.
G6HFS, yeah. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, basically, model is here. This is what I was flying earlier. I've put a picture up with me in it. Gives you an idea of the size. That's got a 1200 watt motor in it. It's got fully electric retracts, all the control surfaces you can think of, and it's got GPS feedback and everything. That one was measured on the straight with a newly charged LiPo, 137 miles an hour. They don't have to go quick when they're trimmed, I tell you. But yeah, so 1200 watts, that's throwing a 12-inch prop with a certain pitch. You get 12-inch times 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's the pitch. So that determines how much power you use and how much load it puts on the system. That one takes about 75 amps at 75-80 amps to produce 1200 watt, and that is pulling a 1.6 meter wingspan. What's that, 65 inches, 3.5 kilos, all up with battery, and that's all balsa ply construction. So back to me. And I'll say 7-3's all. Cheers. I think everybody's got a tickle this afternoon. Quick test card, and then it can go back to the boss. G6HFS. 7-3's all.
Okay, Brian, very good. Beautiful signal. And the color's right. I don't know why Leon said it looked blue. Maybe it was just your lovely blue shirt. but you've got excellent color. I can see the shade in the wall at the back. So yeah, and interesting on that plane. I've just bought, Leslie, actually I was visiting Leon, and we bought one of these glider things. It's one of the latest ones, and it's also the latest model. Don't know what the thing's name is, but it's got a 1.8 meter wingspan, so it's a huge story. So I've got everything working now. He hasn't flown it yet. It's almost a month ago since we bought it, because he's been too busy on weekends and stuff, and we don't want him to crash it, so we'll take it out. But it hasn't nearly got a battery that size. What's nice is you switch off your motor, and the little prop folds in, and then you glide it. And on advice from Leon, who's got like 37 of these things, he's very into this model aircraft for years and years. So we certainly can learn a lot. And on second thoughts, he thought we bought too bigger glider. But anyway, he'll have to learn. He flies a small glider beautifully. So I think the bigger one will be a little bit more docile, and hopefully he'll have a lot of fun with it. Right. With that, I'm going to say 7-3 to everybody on the net. Thank you for watching. We've had 49 viewers on tonight, or today, or this morning, whenever you want. And we wish everyone a happier week. I certainly hope next week's going to turn out okay. And we look forward to seeing you all next week, all being well. So this is ZS6YI now signing clear, throwing the ball in the air, and whoever wants to grab it may do so. But I am also closing my station. 7-3 all. Thanks for coming up.